Welcome to the Damascus Encounter, your interesting program on television. The conversion experience is usually a unique one, and all the time you find very interesting stories of how people dramatically met the Lord Jesus, and when he comes in, always a game changer. On the program last week, we shared a little bit with Pastor Israel Oyinloye, giving us a background into how he was born into royalty and then had to leave the palace, and of course eventually he grew outside the palace but went to an Adventist school. So what happened afterwards? We welcome Pastor Israel Oyinloye to the program today. We are glad to have you once again.
Thank you very much. The king, Baba, told them that if this woman give birth, and the child is a woman, it's a girl.
Okay.
My son, one of my sons, will marry.
Okay.
And if I hear any voice, any noise from that family again, this woman will not leave the palace again. So when my father now grew up and wanted to go to teacher training, my father ended up at Adventist Teacher Training College in Otun. The palace has no religion. The man loved me. He took me to the mosque, and I used to go. And I remember from the age of 6, 7, I used to call prayer. And everybody loved me because I have a very soft voice and small boy calling prayer.
So calling prayers is that getting on the megaphone and
in the
calling
morning,
people for prayers
6
early in
a.m.
the
I was
morning.
there. In the night, I follow him. So I get interested, and I love. At a point, those Bible verses were contradicting the Quran verses in my brain. Then I got confused. I stopped going. I stopped the chapel. I was totally confused. Then I now took the Bible reading serious. I wanted to know which one is the truth story. Is it the Bible or the Quran?
The Quran. So let us know what exactly transpired, your experience on these, at this point where you had this conflict between the Bible teachings and your Islamic teaching background.
Yeah, by the time I told you that I was having a lot of Bible verses on my head, they were conflicting with the Quranic verses on my head, especially the stories. And so I had a curiosity to read the Bible. My intention is not to know more about the Bible, is to correct their wrong.
Okay.
And I think with the divine, they gave me a Bible, and I wanted to read to tell them that they are wrong. Especially I told my father, my stepfather, that when I knew that that school is an Adventist school, it's a Christian school, he doesn't want me to go back. I said, don't worry, I will correct them. They are doing something wrong there. So I have that mind. But now the whole thing is conflicting. So I now sat down and began to read the Bible. I stopped the chapel. I stopped churches, I started to force us there. But Mrs. Becky Dada understood. So maybe instead of sending me away, they didn't send me away. Because if you don't go to chapel in Adventist, they send you away. They didn't send me away. They just left me on my own. Then at a point, I couldn't pray again. I mean, there's no mosque, so I used to have my prayer in my room. They allowed me. Okay. You know, I have my mat, I will do my ablution, I will do my 5 days prayer, 5 times prayer. They allow me, they know. They allow me, but at that time, I stopped everything. I wanted to know which one is really right.
So how eventually did you get to
I started from Genesis. I was reading the Old Testament because that is the familiar story in the Quran. And I got the series, the way the systematic story in the Bible convinced me that this is more detailed, this is likely to be correct.
And more logical.
Yeah. Because Quran, you have to pick it from different chapter.
Okay.
And sometimes you have to go to Hadith to know what is in that story, to match it with what is in the Quran. So the Bible looked a little logical. Then Mrs. Dada did something at a point. She gave me the book of John. Okay. She advised me to read the book of John, which I now read. I read it, I can't remember how many times because I love the story. And that was where I got convinced about Jesus Christ.
Okay.
I know him as Isa. I know him as one of the prophets.
As in the Quran.
In the Quran. I understand him as is one like the Moses. But I now saw him in a different way in the book of John. And something just came over me. And I began to know, I want to know more about him. So I went back to Mrs. Dada that I want to know more about Isa. And that's how they enrolled me to Bible study. And it was baptismal class. I didn't know it was baptismal class.
Okay.
But the Bible study. So, and at that time too, I have a friend, Kunle Dosumu.
Okay.
He also is a pastor now.
All right.
So we met there. We also have, two of us have Muslim background. We began the study. Then at a point, Kunle took me to Deeper Life, that these people doesn't even know what they are doing. So we want to know if Adventist is saying the right thing or not. So we now went to Deeper Life. There's a Bible study at the back of the school. We always go there.
Okay.
So by the time we started asking questions, the book of John helped me to understand. And then I was asking them the question, and the answer they are giving to me is different from what Mrs. Dada was giving to me. Then I hold the Bible that the Bible is right, Seventh Adventist is right. So I submitted myself for the baptism. Kunle was unable to, but I now agree that, okay, you are right.
Okay, so let's take it from the point where, after all of this, ultimately you got baptized into the
So
Adventist
I now was a bit serious about the baptismal class, and in 1982, I accepted to be baptized.
And you were baptized.
And I was baptized. And when I was baptized, I knew the problem I will have at home. Number one, how do I tell my mother, especially? How do I tell my father? Then how do I live? Because I know the implication. But Pastor Fatumbi, late Fatumbi, and Mrs. Dada, and Mrs. Dare encouraged me a lot. So, and the book of John really encouraged me. If people can die for Christ, then I'm ready.
So there was no scare about the concussion, because if you got baptized, you no longer could.
That's another thing that I want to say. Another thing that I have problem is, how do I get over my stomach problem?
And the use of the concussion.
And the use of concussion.
So how did you
I
transcend that problem?
confessed that to Pastor Fatumbi wanted to baptize me. I said, I still have something I used to take. He said, no, I can't be baptized if I'm still taking herbs and concussion like that. I said, it's just to take care of my stomach. If I don't take it, I will die. He said, no, you can't die. So my baptism was delayed until I will be convinced not to take that concussion. So he has to take another round of Bible study with me, pray with me, and Mr. Dad was praying with me too until I was convinced.
Until you decided
I was
to
not
give it
really
up?
convinced. I was not really convinced. I must tell the truth. I was not really convinced. It was only I decided that, okay, if it is that, let me go. Because what my conviction was, if I don't take that concussion, I will die. That was my only conviction. But now that so many things, okay, let's go. Let's try it. So we put it in a try.
And then you got baptized?
I got baptized.
And then
that
you didn't die?
That night, I got home, I poured it away. So I didn't take it that night. The following day, I didn't take it. Third day, I didn't take it. Fourth day, seventh day, I was waiting to die. I didn't die. I was waiting. So I ran to Mrs. Dada. I didn't die. That was when she got to know about it.
So did you consider that a major miracle
I saw it as a turning point
in your life?
That's why I saw it as a turning point that, okay, if Jesus, although that night of my baptism, I prayed. I said, Jesus, if you can do all this miracle in the book of John, then do that miracle for me.
And he did.
I know I prayed that prayer.
And he did.
And I know that in the Quran, they said that if you are confused, go to the children of the book, which are the children of Isa, which we relate as Christian, and learn from them. So I know that Isa has the power of miracle.
And Isa is Jesus.
Isa is Jesus. So I prayed to him and I asked him, please, if it is true, prove it in my life.
And he proved it.
And he proved it.
So that marked the major turning point.
Since that day till now, I didn't take any
concussion. You've never had to take it, and that's very wonderful.
So that took me to the baptism.
Okay.
So when I was baptized, after the holiday, I went home and I told my parents, and my mother said, "You did what?" I said, "I'm now a Christian." "You know the meaning?" I said, "I know it." After a few days, she has the confidence to tell my father, which is my stepfather. And told him, then he came to me. "Hey, Muti, what happened? Muti, what happened?" I said, "I've done it." "You know the meaning?" I said, "I know." That moment, I left the room. He said I should pack my load from the room. So there's a small store that my mother usually pack ubi and kola nut and things. I said, "Okay, this will be your room from today." So I used the place. Then instead of sleeping on the mattress, I began to sleep on the mat. He just gave me one small mat. So that's where I was till my holiday finished. And after the holiday, I went back to Ede. I never come back again.
You never came back home? I
never came back home again until I graduated from that school.
Okay, and how did you manage in school? And
well, Mrs. Dada and Mrs. Dare, they really took care of me.
Okay.
And I have an uncle there who is a senior brother to my father, to my mother, Mrs. Baba Olajide. He was a cook there.
Okay.
So they took care of me, really. They took care of me.
And
they knew my background.
Did they ever come back from home? Any message, attempt to see you, this child who has
My mother didn't
come
until when I was about to graduate. Then that was when I knew my real father.
So she came with him, or
No. She just told me the story.
Told you the story.
So that's now that I'm a Christian, now that I've done everything against I wish, that really she told me the story. So then let me know my father.
So you after all of this, something started crystallizing in your mind. Yeah. I'm a Christian, there's no going back. What was the way forward from then in your mind, in your thinking? Well,
in my thinking is I don't have any plan. I just want to continue to be a Christian, and I don't have any plan at that time. But really I wanted to be a lawyer from secondary school because my stepfather has been ringing it to me that he wants me to be a lawyer.
Okay.
Which I love to be a lawyer. Now, when I became a Christian, I now decided that I will be that lawyer so that I can use it to appeal to my father, who is my stepfather.
Your stepfather.
That maybe that one will make him to come back to me.
Okay.
And make him to accept me back.
But your biological father also wanted you to be a lawyer
when I knew my biological father, and I told him about the story, and I told him about the journey, and when he knew that I'm now a Christian, he said, "Which one?" I said, "Seventh." They said, "Oh, me too, I'm a Seventh Adventist." I said, "Seventh Adventist? Oh, good." Then I told him the story. Then he told me, "Where is your concussion?" Then I told him, "No, I don't use concussion again." He said, "And you are still alive? What happened?" I told him the miracle.
Okay.
So then he said, now told me some stories in the palace and what Baba told him before he died. He said, "I know." He said, "Please, what did you want to study?" That time I was about to write WAEC. He said, "Well, I'm already in Form 5 and I want to be a lawyer." I said, "Oh, good. Please be a lawyer."
Okay. So we'll come back after the short break to discuss whether or not the dream to be a lawyer, how everything went down, and eventually how you found your way into the ministry. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this time out. Welcome back to the Damascus Encounter. Before the break, we were discussing with Pastor Israel Oyinloye, sharing his dramatic encounter with Jesus and how he got baptized. So, Pastor Oyinloye, after your baptism, now you had a dream of becoming a lawyer, but you are not a lawyer. You didn't study law eventually. What happened?
Yes, after my baptism, I forgot to tell you that I gave myself Israel.
Okay.
That's the name I gave myself as a baptism name. Then when I met my father, after the baptism, I wanted to use the law to appeal to my father, my stepfather. Then when I met my father also, he loved me to be a lawyer. But along the line, after my graduation from the school, I came back to Otu. I couldn't go to the house.
Okay.
and I have to go to the church. That is the only people that can accept me. So I grew up with Pastor. Father was the pastor that time. Then my uncle, the senior brother to my father, so I was also living in their house, certainly the two.
Okay.
But my house, where my mother and my father is, I cannot go
go
there because I'm now an infidel. In fact, if I drink water, they throw the cup away. So that's how I grew. So I determined to be a lawyer to appease to my father. But along the line, when I was studying those things, then they introduced me to canvassing. To canvass. So that will help me to gather money to go to university and get money to do a jump. Okay. From there, I went to learning. They said I should go to LMS at Lagos, where I met Pastor Ajibade. Okay. Meeting Pastor Ajibade made me a Christian. It was another journey. And I really met Christ in his ministry during the time of literature ministry seminary. So when I graduated from there, I was sent to Ilorin to canvass, where I met Pastor Erigare. Okay. And I was canvassing with Benga, with Brother Gbeniga, Joshua Gbeniga. Two of us were canvassing there, and I got interested in the canvassing, and especially with the youth. So that time, I was the youth leader for the Kwara State. That time, Kunle Yanda was there, and Kunle Dosumoso was there. All of us, we were doing something. So at a point, Gbeniga and myself, because we have money, we are canvassing. Okay. We wanted to run the crusade ourselves. And we went to, I think, Goma or so, Goma Moyo. We did it, and I was the one who spoke that time for 2 weeks. After the evangelism, people were converted, people were baptized. Then Pastor Rigari said, "You'll be a pastor." I said, no, don't try it. Don't try it at all. Then I told him, he was telling me all the time, I said, "No, Baba, sit down." I told him my story. If I want to go back to my father's house, I must study law. Please leave me alone. So that made me to want to run away from Ilorin. Okay. But he now used a wisdom with Okebola people. And they now sent me to Bashita to go and canvass in Bashita instead of Ilorin. All right. Because I think Pastor Orega got to know that I want to run away. So you were sent to Bashita. To Bashita. Bashita has nothing, it's only the company. That's why I really met Kunle Yanda. So I was canvassing. But I met Ajao's family there, who are the only Adventists. And from there, we were visitation. I visited around. Before a few weeks, I have Bible study groups, which eventually, at the end, they have evangelism there. And I think Pastor Nwogu was the one that came to do the evangelism. And we have people, baptism. So before I knew it, a letter came from Okebola that I'm now employed as an evangelist. I never applied. I never did any interview. I said, "Pastor, what are you trying to do?" He said, "No, you are not a pastor. Just take care of..." Just evangelist. I said, "I want to be..." He said, "No problem. Just take care of them. Just take care." Baba. I said, okay. Just to take care of them? I said, okay, I will. So I was nurturing them, conducting Bible study, visiting them. Naturally, I forgot my canvassing. Then I got interested. But then you went back to stay... study for JAMB. So I now, the university. When I was getting that, I got another confusion. So I was confused. Which one? Then I ran back. I ran away from there to write my JAMB. When I was writing JAMB, I told God, please, if I pass the JAMB, then that means... You want me to study law. If I don't pass the JAMB, then you want me to be a pastor. That was the test I put before God. And I read very well. And so I did the exam. Result? Yeah. When the result came, we didn't see the result. What happened? Everybody was asking. Then my uncle, Eda Akionlajide, said, "Peter, where did you put the address?" I said, "Oh, in the palace." I forgot that the address I wrote down for the result to be sent is in the palace. Of the palace. So he now went there. He was the one who went there. At that time, it was late. Then I scored 260. That time I was 260 something. And I was admitted at Ife. So he took me to Ife. Because everybody was happy. By the time I got to Ife, they have done the matriculation. But I don't know what he told the HOD or whatever. He was the one running all around. So they gave me philosophy. They said, okay, I should do philosophy for 1 year. Then after 1 year, I can now go back to my law. I was happy. But after a
But
few
then
weeks,
something happened.
then something just, I didn't dream, but something like a voice just came to me that you told me this thing.
You made a promise.
You made a promise. If you fail, if you pass, I say, oh. So that means, God, I passed, but you don't want me to fail, but you delay my
Result, and
my
I
result.
didn't see it.
And then there's no admission for me for law. So that means you don't want me to do law. Then I packed my load. I went back to Bashita.
And from there, eventually, you ended
I went
up...
to Erigari.
Okay.
Went and I called Pastor Ajibade. They prayed for me. Then I told them the story that I'm not going again.
That you were ready. Were you at that point ready to
I
now
was ready to go
to the seminary?
So I told my mother, I said, again? Then Alhaji said, I don't want to see you again. If you don't study law, you want to go and do pastor or whatever you call it, then don't let me see you again.
You're disowned.
That is what they can call disown.
Mm.
Because he was already getting at least happy with me. But now that I said, no, you left Ife, go away.
And did you leave?
Yes, I have to leave. Then I told my father too, he said, what? He said, I know you're a bastard boy. Don't come near me.
That's your biological father.
My biological father also said, no, get away. So I was now alone. So I came to Aswa here. Pastor Ajibade, then Jeremy also.
Okay.
They encouraged me, brother encouraged me, so I came.
And so you came into
Aswa
Aswa through the
When I got here, then I was told that I don't have, though I did well in the JAMB, but that time there was no JAMB connection with Aswa that time.
Okay.
So they said, I have to have Bible. If I want to study theology, I need to have Bible.
That is Christian religious
religious in my result, which I don't have.
Okay.
I didn't have. So they now accepted me to pre-seminary.
Okay, so pre-seminary now gave you the
So during
opportunity.
before the end of that 9 months of pre-seminary course, I went to Abeokuta, I wrote GC again, and I got Bible religion knowledge.
And then you started.
And then I started my school.
And since then, you've become a pastor.
For my 5 years, either my biological father or my stepfather, they never stepped this campus. They don't want to see
They will
me.
have nothing to do with you.
No, they have nothing to do with me.
But you went ahead and you still became a pastor.
Yeah. I was in this campus. I didn't go to anywhere. Holiday, I would only go and canvas, come back, until when Pastor Ajibade became the president of West. And during my, I think, 3rd year, they gave me sponsorship.
Okay.
And that's what really. But
Helps
towards the end of my graduation, Mrs. Awoniyi met my father in US and told him, the one I wanted to find out if it is true, that are you the son of, I said, yes. My father was in US that time. So he said, yes, that's my son. He said, he's now a pastor. He's now graduating. He said, my father said, he's graduating? Are you sure? So they met, he said they met in Washington, and he removed his coat as a symbol that he has seen him. And he brought it to me here in this campus, and that was the coat I used to graduate. And that brought us together.
So you made peace eventually?
Awoniyi made peace with us.
Okay.
And that's why I came back to my biological father.
How about your stepfather?
Yes, he eventually accepted me.
Accepted you too as a pastor?
Well, he said, since you have known your father now, and your father is also a Christian, so go ahead.
But he told you were going to lose something.
Yes, he now said, no, that time when I was going, he said, know that you have lost everything. I said, I know. And when they were also distributing, they didn't give me anything.
That's his inheritance and what he had for his children.
No, he didn't.
So your siblings from your stepfathers, from your mother's side, what was the relationship?
God helped me so much that because of the gap, I have 7 years to the one after me.
Okay.
So that helped me to take care of them. So in my stepfather's house, as a Muslim, he also married 4 wives.
Okay.
So my mother is the second wife.
All right.
Okay. So, but the man took me as the firstborn. So everybody knew me as the firstborn. But so when I finished my secondary school and I was also here, I brought all of them.
And so they stayed with
They
you.
stayed with me,
And are they
and I was
Seventh-day
taking them.
Adventists today?
They are not Seventh-day Adventists. They are still Muslims.
Okay.
They are still Muslim. But
you've been able to make impact.
Yes, they grew up with me. Everywhere I went to, Ibrahim was with me at Bashita. Then Tokwe was here. He worked with Professor Owolabi in the bakery.
Okay.
Then Rashida was with me at Lokoja.
All right.
And I promised God that God should help me to train them. From there, they should see the light of Jesus Christ.
Now, looking back at everything, when in summary, because we are running out of time, in summary, you have any regrets coming Seventh-day Adventist?
No, I don't have any regrets, because my fear at the beginning, God overtook them. My fear number one was I will lose my two fathers.
And it took care of them. You were able to make peace with everyone.
By the special grace of God, my father died in my hand and I buried him.
Oh, awesome.
And he was not at peace with that wife they gave to him. I settled the peace before he died.
Oh, that's
so
good.
I thanked the Lord.
So you're
Then
big
to my
blessing.
stepfather too, I became the pride. When I graduated and I was working and he saw that the children of my mother was good,
They were all doing well.
he settled with me. He called me and brought me back. Though he didn't give me anything as inheritance again, but he said, don't worry, God will take care of
Oh,
you.
you made peace.
We made peace.
And Jesus did it all.
Yes.
Thank you very much for sharing your story. I'm very convinced that many are blessed and they have been enthused by what you have shared on the program today. And that will be all on the edition of Damascus Encounter. Beautiful story by Pastor Israel Oyinloye and the beautiful things God has done with him in his life. God is always there, watching and running after us. Perhaps it might just be you. If you hear the voice calling today, why don't you just submit as you encounter Jesus? Until next time, when we meet again on the program, I'm saying, stay blessed.